So look, Obergefell, like Roe versus Wade, ignored 2 centuries of our nation's history. Marriage was always an issue that was left to the states. In Obergefell, the court said, no, we know better than you guys do, and now every state must sanction and permit gay marriage. I think that decision was clearly wrong when it was decided. It was the court overreaching.
Yes, there's Cancun Cruz on his podcast, because that's what senators do instead of legislating. Talking about Obergefell versus Hodgins, which of course gave gay Americans the right to marry, and saying that it was an overreach. And so ultimately setting up what I think we've all known for a few weeks now, or maybe months, or maybe since Donald Trump was elected in 2016, that absolutely the Supreme Court and Republicans have LGBTQ plus rights on the chopping block, in addition to, of course, abortion rights. He added that it would be, quote, more than a little chaotic for the Supreme Court to overturn gay marriage, and he doesn't believe the current justices have any appetite for overturning any of these decisions. Oh, but they just did. They just did, and not only did they, but in Clarence Thomas's decision, he also made clear that all this stuff is on the chopping block. Lawrence and the right to contraception is on the chopping block. Obergefell is on the chopping block. So he writes, in future cases, we should reconsider all of this court's substantive due process precedents, including Griswold, Lawrence, Obergefell, because any substantive due process decision is demonstrably erroneous. Ramos versus Louisiana, we have a duty to, quote, correct the error established in those precedents, Gamble v. United States. So again, these are all right to privacy issues, right? These are all 14th Amendment rights, rights that stem from the 14th Amendment. But Ted Cruz is not the only one. You got Josh Hawley telling reporters in May that he believed that Obergefell was, quote, wrongly decided, but he believed it was settled law and he would be shocked if it were overturned. Would you? Would anyone be shocked at this point if it were overturned? Senator John Cornyn earlier this year went so far as to say that Obergefell created a right, quote, not even mentioned in the Constitution. Yeah, great, Neither is the word abortion. Again, that's not how it was founded. And therefore called the court's independence and legitimacy into question. So Cornyn's on board, Josh Hawley's on board. He doesn't think it's gonna happen, but he probably, he'll be fine if it does. And then you've got Ted Cruz, of course, trying to out MAGA everyone, saying, trying to sort of try his like little Ben Shapiro act on, like, well, I mean, it was completely wrongly decided. It was a complete overreach. And that's incredible, right? Here we are staring down the idea that we're gonna roll back the right to marry who you want because the court overreached. That's overreach to allow you to marry? It's overreach. It's overreach. And abortion rights, allowing you to choose when and if you become a parent, that's not overreach. Forced birth isn't overreach. I mean, it really is. It's incredible because before you were like, and Cenk, I want to kick it to you, but like, before it's like, well, the economy can do whatever it wants. The markets, we're slaves to the market. Let them go whatever they want. Citizens United, this is great. Let's pour money into our political system, and no one should infringe the right of the market. And then I feel like a lot of people were more complacent. Okay, well, as long as we have personal rights. Now personal rights are gone, unless it's the right to bear arms. So I don't know, armed fetuses, guys. That's really all I have to say.
Yeah, the only right they believe in is the right to murder people. That's it. So, okay, now look, guys, this issue is super easy. And let's take this one literally, okay? So Ted Cruz says court overreaches, so they should go back to the days where gay marriage was illegal. Okay, and the Republican Party at the state level has passed over 600 laws in just the last couple of years against LGBTQ community. Okay, that's real. That's happening in all the states, and they're taking away people's rights as we speak. okay? So if you're a person out there who's a right winger, you say, no, gay marriage, of course, should not be allowed. Why? Straight marriage is allowed. Straight people are American citizens with 100% of the rights of citizenship. Gay people are American citizens with 100% of the rights of American citizenship. So why should they have less rights, like not have the right to get married, along with all the other rights that come along with that, the right to visit your spouse in the hospital, et cetera, et cetera. Well, you think they shouldn't be allowed because you're a hateful person. If you think that, there is no dispute. These are rock hard facts. You can say, there's good reason why I hate gay people, or I think they're inferior to us, or I think they should have less rights than us because the Bible told me so, my preacher told me so, Donald Trump told me so, the invisible man in the sky told me so. Whatever, okay, it doesn't matter why you think that, but you do think it. You think they should have less rights than you. So you don't believe in equality, that's a fact. You don't believe in justice, that's a fact. You're a hateful person, that's a fact. These things are indisputable. That's on you, brothers and sisters. If that's what you believe, you don't realize it, but you're the bad guy in the movie. You're the person that everybody goes, I hope they don't win. My God, they seem to hate all these people, right? So that's who the Republicans are. Don't tell me that you don't hate gay people when you pass over 600 laws against them. Don't tell me that you don't hate gay people if you say they shouldn't have the same rights as straight people. You're not allowed to say that. By the way, don't tell me that you're against big government if you say the government should be so big, it should tell you who you can marry, who you can love, who you could have sexual relations with, okay, who you can cuddle with, who you can hug, who you can hold. No, you love big government. Don't tell me you're against government tyranny when the government, according to you, should tell you who you should love and not love. No, you love government tyranny as long as it's by right-wing fascists like yourselves. So that's the facts about the Republican Party. And the only reason why you haven't ever heard of this starkly, this clearly before, is because mainstream media is obsessed with filleting the right wing. So they're like, no, the right wing. This country's set in the right wing. We love you, right wing. The right wing voters, the Republican voters, they're the heartland. They're the heartland. They're beloved voters. I can't tell who's right and who's wrong. Maybe gay people shouldn't have the same rights. Maybe, I can't tell, I'm 50-50 on it. So no, it's the lies of mainstream media that has protected awful, hateful Republicans my whole life.
Yeah, exactly. Let's just hear them out. Everyone's of a different opinion, and that's how they really are. Texas is already floating other, laws that have been introduced in just 2020 and 2021. These have been proposed, and they're trying to litigate and move through courts issues around religious liberty for healthcare workers when it comes to what? Attending gay people. So if you're bleeding out and you go to an ER and you're a woman and you go with your wife, the doctor can say, sorry, I can't attend you because it's against my religious belief to discriminate, because my loving God wants me to watch you guys bleed out because you're lesbians. That's where we're headed. Forget cakes. You guys thought, baking a cake, was a big thing. It's getting way worse than that. And it's actually out of step. And so I'm curious as to everybody's thoughts on, is this gonna bite them in the butt? Is this, turning around on them, considering how popular abortion rights are, despite this so-called win for them? According to a Gallup poll released last month, and this has to do with obviously same-sex couples and relationships, 71% of Americans say they support same-sex marriage. And Republicans, who have consistently been the party that least favors same-sex marriage, shows a majority support in 2021 for the first time, 55%. Not bad, GOP base. The latest increase in support among all Americans is driven largely by changes in Republicans' views. It's kind of like when progress happens, you start to get used to it. Like when interracial couples are allowed to be freely out and about and marry and not feel fear for their lives, you just kind of incorporate that as a bigot. You're like, maybe that's normal. It is normal. And there is nothing abnormal about going and getting married to your wife or husband of the same sex. So It's insane. There's other stats we could go to as well.
Yeah, I want to go to those, Francesca. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I want people to understand it's not, do I look like I'm pulling my punches against Republican voters? No, okay. But it's not all Republican voters, and it is certainly not the majority of the country. I don't want people to mistake that, okay? It is an extremist, zealot, racist, bigoted, homophobic Republicans that have taken control over their party and that are driving their party and this country off a cliff. They're the ones that are filled with hate. Because let me give you these numbers. So 64% of voters are concerned about same-sex marriage becoming illegal. So that's about 2/3 of the country who say, no, we want gay people to have the same rights in marriage as straight people. 2/3 of Americans are good guys, okay? 79% of voters are concerned about the states restricting access to birth control and other forms of contraception. That's 8 out of 10 Americans. Okay, everybody's clear except the right wingers that control the Republican Party. 78% of voters are concerned about doctors, nurses, and others, and other medical professionals facing lawsuits or criminal charges for providing necessary reproductive health care. By the way, Republicans are threatening to do that right now. So they're against 78% of Americans. They're looking to imprison the doctor in Indiana that performed an abortion on a 10-year-old girl who was raped, okay? More, 89% of voters are concerned about victims of rape or incest being forced to give birth to their abusers' children. 9 out of 10 Americans don't want it. But the Republican Party is making that happen in over half the country. They're such an extreme party. That's why I get so mad at the media for not being honest and calling it 50-50. Last one, 66% of voters are concerned about transgender individuals losing access to medical care.
That's huge.
2/3 of the country that wants to protect transgender people.
Huge.
But it's the zealots that are the minority, the hateful minority that is the Republican Party leadership that is driving this country off a cliff, when 2/3 of Americans are progressive and they want decency, equality, and justice for all.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.